D&D spells are ridiculously overpowered. Let me explain. I was sitting in physics class thinking about the potential for heat metal to be a really powerful spell, and I did a little bit of quick calculations and realized that it's a really powerful spell. But when I mean power, I'm talking power in the scientific sense, not in the Dungeons and Dragons sense. In D&D, there's a set amount of damage that a spell can do, and heat metal is one of those. But you can easily calculate how much energy goes into that metal just with a couple terms. Specific heat capacity is essentially how stubborn something is to changing temperature. With metal it varies greatly, but with steel it's around 502. The unit for this is joules per kilogram per degree Celsius, meaning if you want to heat up 1 kilogram of high carbon steel by 1 degree Celsius, it'll take 502-ish joules. The spell in the player's handbook, Heat Metal, says that you can choose a manufactured metal object and cause it to glow red hot. With my minor experience in blacksmithing, I know that you can estimate the temperature of something based on its color. Glowing red hot in the case of steel is about 745 degrees Celsius. Now imagine you're one of the larger D&D races. You have a very large suit of armor. Plate armor, weighing about 38 kilograms. Heating that plate armor up to 745 degrees Celsius from about, let's say, 10 degrees Celsius if you're out in the cold. Now the equation to figure out how much energy is added to the metal is pretty simple. Q is the amount of energy added to the object in joules. M is the mass of the object, C is the object's specific heat capacity, and T is the change in temperature. You might have heard this equation referred to as the Q equals MCAT equation, with the delta sign being the A and referring to the change in. And like I said earlier, C is the specific heat capacity. It's how stubborn something is to changing temperature. If it's higher, it's harder to heat up. Now we can start to plug in numbers to find Q in joules. C is the specific heat capacity of the metal, about 502 joules per kilogram per degree Celsius. If we multiply that by the mass, about 38 kilograms, and by the change in temperature, 735 degrees, then we get 14 megajoules of energy. Joules is a measure of energy, and since this is an instantaneous spell, it happens all at once. But if this same energy were used to power, say, a house, it could power an average house in the US for about 4 months. But I'm not even getting started yet, because chain lightning allows you to arc lightning for up to 150 feet. Arcing a distance requires enough voltage, and the voltage required to arc 150 feet is 155 million volts. Plus, we know that a lightning bolt has about 30,000 amps of current flowing through it. Since this isn't an actual lightning bolt, I'm reducing it by a factor of 10, so a 3,000 amp 155 million volt arc. If we were to be able to sustain this for a full second, we would have 465 billion joules on our hands. But unfortunately, since it's only a millisecond, we have 465 million joules. But that's still a crazy amount of energy. It could power a US house for almost 12 years. That's right, this one spell can power a house for more than a decade. Now let's consider something even more rudimentary, gravitational potential energy. That's the amount of energy that something has because it's above something, and when you drop it, it's released. The spell Control Water allows you to control up to a 100-foot cube of water. One of the effects of this spell is Flood, allowing you to raise the water level of this 100-foot cube by up to 20 feet. That's a little more than 6 meters. Since gravitational potential energy is mass times gravity times the distance above the ground, we can plug numbers in and we get 1.7 gigajoules. 1.7 gigajoules of energy can power a house for 43 years. But this last spell is actually insane, and I think it's gonna surprise you. Cone of Cold is one of the most powerful calculatable spells that I can think of in Dungeons & Dragons. Essentially, a 60-foot cone of creatures gets frozen, and if they die, then they freeze solid. Now, however unlikely this may be, imagine you have a room packed full of Goliaths that all weigh 150 kilograms. A 60-foot cone can hit 104 of these, and if they all die from it, then they're all frozen. This is 15,600 kilograms of people. The same equation that I used for heat metal can be applied here, except we're going in reverse. Q is the heat energy that leaves, M is that 15,600. We don't know C, and the change in temperature is from 37 degrees, a normal body temperature, to 0. One quick Google search later and we found the specific heat capacity of a human. I didn't expect to be able to find the number, but it's actually pretty important for sports medicine and metabolism and such. It's 2,980 joules per kilogram per degree Celsius. Multiplying it all out, and because of that crazy specific specific heat capacity, we get about 1.7 gigajoules of energy. And if all these people are frozen solid, that means there's another step to the process, specific latent heat. It's the amount of energy for something to change phase. Now, because people are about 60% water, we can assume that 60% of the mass can be used in this equation Q equals mL. M is 60% of the mass, and L is the specific latent heat, the amount of energy that it takes for something to freeze, in this case, water. The specific latent heat of water is 334,000 joules per kilogram, so it's safe to say that this number is just going to be insane. 3.1 gigajoules is what you get by freezing all of this water. The total 4.85 billion joules that comes away from this spell is enough to power a house in the US for 123 years. That's right, we have one 5th level spell powering an entire house for about 5 generations. If that's not insane, I don't know what is. I'm sure there are plenty of other spells that I can calculate the energies of in a similar video to this one. I don't know what they are right now, so let me know what you think in the comments. Also, YouTube thinks you might like this video, so you might as well check it out, and you can subscribe right here. Thanks for watching.